Hello, everyone, and welcome to the AfroGamer Podcast once again. This is episode 2 for 2022, and we do have a pack-loaded interview with, a friend to the house once again. I know everyone will be wondering, like, everyone I bring on is a friend to the house, a friend to the house. Well, that is what the AfroGamer is all about. Well, if you follow esports in Africa, you know that last year, the International Esports Federation launched the African regional body, and that is the African Esports Association. And we do have the president, Mr. Emmanuel Oyelakin, here with us today, and he'll be, giving us the juice, what we should expect as stakeholders in the ecosystem. For our viewers, if you have any questions for him, please feel free to put it in the chat. I do have my wonderful friends Omar and Queen Arrow here with me, and they'll be joining me as co-anchors to let's use the word drill, Mr. Chairman, just so we know where Africa is headed. Emmanuel, I hope you're comfortable. Grab a glass of water, so So if it gets hot, you know how to sip it down.
No, I'm good. Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's a privilege to be here once again. I've been here before, and it's always a pleasure to speak with the Afro Gamer. So I hope we'll have a great time.
Yeah, hopefully, we are really looking forward to it. Omar, the man, the man who has been MIA.
What?
MIA, welcome back. How are you doing? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Glad to be back. I've been good. Let's do this.
Let's do this. Queen Arrow, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Okay, are you ready for Emmanuel?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, good. So before we jump straight into it, let's just give a shout out to our sponsors, and that is Mobile. It's a mobile gaming platform for Africa. So if you're a mobile gamers, if you love to play games, just don't play games casually. You can actually play for something. You play in tournaments, play against fellow Africans in the region, and obviously the term people like to hear, win cash prizes. So you can always follow them on the social media and see what tournaments are coming up. Umar, I can see you smiling when I said cash prizes.
Well, that's the part that will make everybody's eyes light up. So,
well, it's 2022. Time to get your money up. But let's leave that. We'll come back to it. Umar, the floor is all yours. Let's go.
Okay, so he keeps on saying drill, but I'm not really sure it's drilling per se.
It's a conversation, but I'm sure a lot of people want to know because we are at a critical point in African esports now where we need to know where we're going, basically. So it's not a drill, but questions will be thrown, and I hope Mr. President doesn't take that offensive.
Not at all.
Okay, so like Ife says, esports is growing, and I think everybody has noticed that organizations are popping up everywhere, different governing bodies and such. So first question is, what is the African Esports Association, and how is it affiliated to IESF? That's the International Esports Federation.
Okay, that's a very good question. It's a very interesting one also. It's natural for attention to be on something that is interesting. Okay, like they say, it's either you go big or you go home. All right. People love to see stuff happening. People want to jump on latest trends. People want to be part of, the moving train. I like talking about the train a lot because it talks about progress, it talks about movement. Okay, so gaming has been happening since forever, but now that it has metamorphosed into esports, it's more like a money spinner. That's the business arm. Everybody loves it. Everybody wants to be part. So it's no surprise that we are seeing quite a few people who also want to be part of the esports movement, which is a good thing. It just shows you that what you have on ground is something that is good. The Africa Electronic Sport Association is the continental body for esports in Africa. Okay, and it came about. So I'll just quickly give you a brief history. So some 4, 5, or 6 years ago, leaders of esports in different countries came together. We kept finding each other online and we kept expanding, you know. So we kept interacting, looking for ways to interact with one another, play games, develop esports and gaming in our different communities. And from there, we created a WhatsApp group. And then we had people from about 30, maybe like 40 African countries as of today on that WhatsApp group. And we kept working amongst ourselves. We kept seeking support and attention to Africa esports. I remember I was going online once and creating the hashtag not global without Africa. I actually coined that hashtag, but it really went viral. So that even as at today, you would see some tweets that would have not global without Africa. We're trying to draw attention of the entire world to Africa to say that Africa has been left behind when it comes to esports. Events we're holding in different areas of the world, in Europe, in North America, in South America, in Southeast Asia. So you'll be hearing regions called NA, North America, Latin America, EU, Europe, but nothing about Africa. Also, we're seeing servers everywhere, but none for Africa. So we thought to become like an advocacy body, for esports and gaming in this part of the world. And so we formalized our coming together by creating what started off as the Electronic Sports Federation of Africa, ESFA. Sorry, Esports Federation of Africa, ESFA. And as part of our growth and development, we kept evolving, getting more people on board, getting broader support. And what started as the ESFA has now metamorphosed into the Africa Electronic Sport Association, AESA, that is based in Johannesburg, South Africa. It's interesting to know that we are now affiliated with the International Esports Federation. So to correct a notion, we were not created by the IESF. Okay.
Okay.
We existed as an African Federation for Esports, and then we applied to be part of the IESF. And we were asked to submit, being the global body for esports, the IESF did their research. They asked us for documents that were submitted, proof of registration, constitution and stuff. We submitted all of those things, and our application was well received and approved. And from there, we became the African body for esports in Africa affiliated to the IESF. So I guess that answers the first salvo from Umar.
Okay, wonderful. That was good enlightenment. It was really good that you did clear that notion, because if even the AfroGamer news, we thought it was a creation, but it's good that you cleared that out. So let's give Queen Arrow the floor also. Queen Arrow, do you have any questions for Emmanuel?
Yeah, Emmanuel, I actually have a question to ask you. How will the AESA make African esports more inclusive to ensure female representation at events and in the IESF as a whole? This is given that the ESL has recently announced a women's only tournament for CSGO with a $500,000 prize pool. And last year, towards the end of last year, it was a very emotive topic on Twitter and on Instagram. I, as a female esports athlete, I believe in the industry needs to find a way to be more inclusive, and in an ideal utopia, would actually be competing on an equal level with a male a fellow male esports athletes. But the reality of the matter is, currently the industry is very male dominated. So what is the AESA going to be doing to ensure that the IESF has female esports tournaments?
Thank you for that very, very good question. And when you mentioned it, I smiled because it struck a chord in me. Before I respond to your question, I want to pay my respects to you first and foremost as a leading female esports athlete in Africa, not just in Kenya. I must tell you that you are an icon already, and you're blazing the trail for others to follow through. So respects to you. Keep doing what you're doing, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. To respond to your question, this is something that has been on the hot burner for me personally. And I say personally because I have a daughter who plays video games. Okay, so there's the selfish part of me, the daddy side of me that wants to encourage female gaming. And also as a leader, in esports, I also want to ensure that as much as possible, we have good female representation in esports in Africa. I know that in Africa there's been that narrative. It's a lot better in other climes of the world, but in Africa there's always a narrative that women are inferior to men, and we are working hard to change that narrative. Okay, I have a daughter and a son, and I don't see my son as being superior to my daughter, just like I don't see my daughter being superior to my son. Both of them can aspire to achieve, whatever they want to be, to the best of their ability. And I'm here to give them equal support. I won't say, oh, this is a girl. No, no, you stay behind. Let me help the boy. No, I'm going to give them equal support to ensure that they get to where they want to get to in life. And talking about esports, there are programs that are initiatives that are actually ongoing as we speak. At the AESA, we are looking to expand the board. In fact, as at yesterday, I was on a 3-hour call with one of the board members at the AESA. We are looking to bring at least, at the very minimum, 2 females to join the AESA board because we want female inclusion. Now, you may say, is that tokenism? No, not at all. And neither are we bringing them in just because they are of the female gender. No, these are people who have earned the right to be on that board in their own right. Okay, by merit, they have earned the right. These are people that have worked in esports. They've been administrators in different capacities. They work in the game development community, and so they have a right, to be there. And so we are looking to expand the board to bring them in, and of course, we'll look to have a lot more female representation so that everybody has a voice. Everybody has a representation at the highest level. Okay. At the IESF also, I can confidently tell you that there are programs being put together to ensure that the female gender is also supported. There are conversations around the toxicity of the male gender towards the females. And it's something that the IESF is also looking to address, okay, to ensure that ladies do not feel uncomfortable when they are in a competition with their male counterparts. So I can assure you that this is not, and this is not a, I don't know how to say this. This is not a, I'm not putting this out there to simply respond to your question, but to actually put a marker, to let Africa know that we are working hard. And this is not a political statement. It's not cliche, okay? We're actually working actively to make sure that we change this narrative. And one of the ladies that will be coming on the board of the AESA would actually be looking at bringing a lot more female representation, not just in leadership, but also at every level, at the grassroots level, competitions, tournaments, representation, so that they are all there and there is no imbalance in terms of gender in the esports space in Africa. And you can be sure that I, as myself, and with the little influence that I have, I will do everything possible to ensure that this narrative is changed and we have a lot of female representation. In Nigeria here, where I also had, some organizations, we are having an all-female event this year, okay? It's going to be strictly female. We don't want to even mix it, just so that and the truth is, we have a lot of lady gamers I know about Nigeria, and I know some other parts of Africa, who are very good. I've been to a Mortal Kombat tournament, and a lady walked in, corporate, working class, she just heard about it, well-dressed, she came in and she said she wanted to be a part. And then she registered and joined the tournament. Oh, she kicked us. I must tell you, she beat all the guys in there. I asked her, wow, how did you get good at this? She said she has a lot of brothers, so they play together at home, and that's how she became very good. And I'm sure there are so many of them out there like that. And so our job is to help them come out, give them the platform, give them the encouragement for them to come out and also stake a claim to the esports and gaming titles and positions in Africa at the very minimum. Yeah.
Okay, guys. For all our viewers, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to put that in the chat section. Emmanuel, I know you've answered this, but let me just put it out there. Stephen said recently there was an issue in the space. The riot, with Riot creating a separate circuit for female Valorant athletes, and people frowned at it. What would be the best strategy to address the disparity in gender in the space by the African Esports Association?
Okay, thank you for that question. I don't want to jump the gun, but at the same time, I will give this opinion in my personal capacity as me. Okay, like I said, we have someone who is coming in to take charge of women in gaming in Africa. She's a lady herself, of course, so we believe she's the best person to drive it. And she would have her own program, but I would just say this also. One of the ways to address this, if you ask me, is I like the idea of the all-female tournament. And like I said, also, we are doing something like that in Nigeria also. We will do it. All female, strictly. Because first and foremost, we want to bring them out. We want to ask them to not shy away from esports. Come out, play amongst yourselves, be comfortable coming out to play in a tournament. And then afterwards, we can now have an infusion of both genders, for events. After we run that event, maybe once or twice, the next thing will be to have a standing policy where every team that takes part in a tournament would have at least one or two females in their teams. And there will be a very close watch of those teams, okay? We would speak with all of them. We must ensure that there is nothing untoward happening with the ladies, okay? We're going to have a whistleblower policy where if there's any untoward activity, you report it immediately. We don't even need to know who you are. Just give us that report and we will take action on it. Okay. Gone are the days when people will keep saying boys will be boys. Gone are those days. Boys cannot be just boys. Boys have to be responsible. Boys have to show respect, first to themselves and then to the ladies. Okay. Like I said, I'm a father. I have a son. I have a daughter. I'm always telling them and teaching them to respect one another. Okay, respect your sister, respect your brother, respect everybody, respect your friends. And so this is something that we'll preach and inculcate into the esports communities in Africa. You have my word on that. Okay, it's a solemn vow that I'm making here to make sure that everybody's comfortable in the esports space. Thank you.
It's good that you mentioned having an all-inclusive female tournament first. I and Umar still had this conversation, I believe it was last week, where we were going back and forth. I said, let's have an inclusive to pull them in first. Then you now mix everything up. And Umar was like, no, let's just bring everybody in. Let everyone play. So, but I believe that's a conversation for another time, which we'll address. And Queen Arrow can jump in. Umar, back to you again. Question for Emmanuel.
Okay, so we've been talking about associations, and besides the fact that they keep on popping up, there's also let's just say it feels a lot like they're collecting nations, because we have how many international esports organizations right now, and I think from maybe 2018, 2019, probably around the time when all of us actually met, a lot of these organizations have been collecting nations, because that's kind of how it looks like Pokemon, adding them to their roster. And the thing is, obviously, there are good intentions, even though some might see it, some might not see it. Some of the organizations might actually be able to achieve things, some might not. But then what makes AESA stand out from that crowd, like as a part of IESF?
So at the beginning, the first thing I said was that when you have something good going, everybody wants to be a part. And the honest truth is, it is okay for everybody to want to be a part. Okay. Esports is not an exclusive thing. One of the things I'm trying to work out in Lagos State is to ensure that esports is not seen as an elitist event or activity. Okay, it's not only for the big boys whose parents can afford PS5 in Lekki or Ikeja or Ikoyi. No, it should be available for everyone, whether you stay in Yanopaja or Agege or Ajegunle. And there's another program in that regard that is in the works at the moment. I'm not at liberty to reveal that yet, but having all of these guys come on board is a good sign that first and foremost, esports is widely accepted. All right. And one of the things that I personally have been working on, or that I have as a guide for me, is to ensure that esports is as inclusive as possible. There is no clique, there is no sentiment.
There's no hierarchy.
Exactly. Everybody is welcome to the party. Everybody is welcome to be a part. And so it's not a surprise that we're having different federations, for esports in Africa.
International federations.
Yeah, I was going to say that now. If you check globally also, it's the same thing. At the beginning of last year, we had 5 international esports federations. 5. But as of today, I can tell you very confidently that we have only 2. Okay.
I don't think the remaining 3 will be happy with this statement while watching this, Emmanuel.
They will be happy.
You're saying they don't exist anymore. You're saying they dropped out or they're just not relevant.
Hang on. I'm very well aware. I'm choosing my words well. Okay. I'm very well aware that I'm on live TV, so to speak. And I'm not saying things that are not out of place. Okay. As of today, we only have 2 global organizations, and that is because last year, 3 of those global bodies actually recognized the IESF as a global body for esports. Okay, so it's not like they have closed shop; they're still in existence, but they have endorsed the IESF as a global body for esports globally. Okay, one of them is WESCO, the World Esports Consortium, based in Brazil. There is also the Esports World Federation, the one in the Philippines, and there is also, I think, ESL also. They all wrote, okay. So and this is public information. It's not something that is hidden somewhere. They wrote to endorse the IESF as the global body for esports in Africa. So as of today, there is only the IESF and GEF. And also, I am very much aware that there are conversations that have been initiated between, at least that I know of, from the IESF to GEF, and there is also. So So when I say there are only 2 as of today, I am speaking from a place of knowledge. So yeah, and so in Africa also, it's the same thing. We are seeing quite a few bodies, coming up here and there. I would say it's good and it's also not good, because unity is always good for progress. Okay. The Bible says that a house that is divided against itself cannot stand. Okay. And one of the things that I know has taken Africa backward for so long is the what's the word now? The divisions that have come from external forces into Africa. Okay. Now today we have Francophone Africa, we have Anglophone Africa, we have, we are all one Africa. And we have our indigenous languages that we speak. Okay. Indigenous languages that we speak. Okay. And at the end of the day, we're all Africans. Whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're tall, you're fair, whether you speak English, Portuguese, French, Arabic, we are all Africans. So personally, I don't think it works for us to have this, different organizations springing and saying their definitions for body or body for esports in Africa. But at the same time, it's not something you can help. Okay, so we've got to live with that. What I can just say is that at the AESA, we have our projects, that we're working on, and I would say we're doing well. We're making progress. Just as at yesterday, we had a new application from another African country that wants to join the AESA. We have a pending one from another country, again from Africa. I don't want to mention names now until they are made public, But the interesting thing is we're making progress. And later this year, just like we did last year, we were at the International Esports Federation Esports World Championship in Israel. Okay. This year also we will be in Bali, in Indonesia. And personally, for me, I want as many African countries as possible to be at that event. So, I mean, if every other organization is able to help to develop esports in Africa, it's a good thing. It doesn't have to come from us. And the truth is, the work that is on ground is actually very big, to the point that you need everybody to pitch in. So, I mean, if they're not against esports, then why not? Let's roll on together. If you can, at the end of the day, come together in some capacity and work as one, even better. But where that is not immediately possible, I would say at the moment things are working out well.
Okay, good. Let's briefly read some comments so that we don't have a backlog. Kwesi Hayford said the women in gaming, like any female advocacy agenda, must be deliberate and sustained for greater growth of the esports space in Africa. Stephen also said a suggestion: let's start having mixed co-ops tournaments for games like FIFA, etc. Also, just like you have mixed relays, we should have mixed FIFA and NBA 2K tournaments. He also said organizations coming up is not the problem. It is how things are being aligned. The NFL battled with the NFC and AFC for years and find a way to align. They are making billions today. Interesting. Omar, do you have any? I know you have something to say about this one.
Which one specifically? That's mixed or co-op? Co-op, right?
We are already at loggerheads about the co-ops. First.
Well, I wouldn't say loggerheads, but so it's just like what Stephen said in his first question, I think. In some scenes, women might feel marginalized and would want to have a separate tournament, and it's fine and good. But then in that same scene, there could also be women that don't want to be separated from the entire community because let me say entire community, but they don't want competitions or tournaments to be gender specific, because it feels like they're getting preferential treatment, or it feels like they're getting too much attention, or they're being for those that feel like female gamers are weaker than male gamers. This would be a way of proving that, because they can't compete with men on the same level. That's why you're creating a separate event for them. So for me, I feel like we should be able to integrate them into what we do currently. But I also understand where everybody else is coming from with gender-specific tournaments.
Okay. Quinaro, you should have something interesting to say. Do you think we should have, female gender, female inclusive tournaments first, then bring them into the fold, or we should just have everyone go for it?
I'm actually for female exclusive tournaments. Actually, if I'm being honest, I feel it's a bit of a mixed bag. Because I know there's always going to be the necessary thing that women can't compete on the equal level as their male counterparts. But I honestly think it's on the business side, it's a good idea, because for one, it actually shows that it shows that this, esports is a lifestyle to be aspired to, and it's for everybody regardless of their gender or their race. So
Correct.
as a business move, it's just strategically smart. I can't really explain all of it here, but if you follow people like Erin Ashley Simon on LinkedIn, they've actually been they've repeatedly insisted that this is something good. It doesn't take the scene back. It allows more women to understand that esports is for them, and it actually incentivizes more women to compete. And eventually, once we have let's say equal representation across the board, then I think there will come a time where we can actually do away with the idea of female-only tournaments.
Mm-hmm. All right, yeah, that's I totally agree with you. Once again, this episode is brought to you by Mobile. It's a competitive application for mobile gaming in Africa, where mobile gamers can compete and win cash prizes. Queen Arrow, over to you again. Do you have any questions for Emmanuel?
Sorry. Before you should ask the question, let me respond to the topic that was just discussed. We're talking about whether we should have simply female exclusive or co-op. If you ask me, I mentioned that earlier on. The ladies will be comfortable playing amongst themselves first. Okay, I think there should be a gradual progression. Don't just throw them into the deep end, because there's already an opinion that is out there that it's not a comfortable space for them to be in the midst of guys playing video games. And I must admit that it can be toxic. Even guy to guy, from a male to another male. Some can handle losses, some can handle being shot, especially if you play a game like PUBG and somebody is camping, and they take you out, and then you want to start cursing and doing all of those. You now find out that it's a lady. There's that stupid mentality that, oh, it's even a girl that shot me, and then don't start misbehaving. So we need to make the ladies comfortable first and foremost, in my own opinion. First, exclusive events, and then we can now gradually take them into the co-op stage. We did an event last year with Japan. I don't know if any of you guys heard about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Total Nigeria Sports Day.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lady who was part of one of the PUBG teams, and she had a beautiful time at the event. After the event, she kept posting on social media how excited she was part of the event, and why she would come again and again and again and again. That's the kind of thing we want to see. So she's one of the people that we now want to actually highlight and use as an ambassador to say that she came to play, and she was the only lady actually there were 4 teams, 16 people. She was the only lady there, and she did excellently well. So we want to use her here and ask her to share experience with others, so that the male folks will know, how to behave themselves, and other ladies can also be encouraged and have the necessary encouragement to be able to come out and play with the guys. Yeah.
Okay, so Quinaro, before you ask your question briefly, let me just read a comment from Kwesi. He said there is no two ways about female-specific tournaments. Esports in it has diversity and exclusivity. Okay, so Quinaro, over to you. Question for Emmanuel.
The other question I have for Emmanuel, excuse me. Okay, so what are your thoughts on African esports organizations that lock their membership to particular regions on the continent?
Let me help.
Anybody want to do that?
Let me help Emmanuel with that question.
Context.
Maybe
I don't understand the question.
Yes. So what she was trying to say is, what are your thoughts on African esports organizations that lock their members, particularly regions, to the continent? For example, the Africa Esports Federation, but not Africans only. Part of the news that also broke last year was another African, esports body, and in no midst of words, it was a coming together of North Africans. They decided for the whole region. There was nobody representing the southern part of Africa, eastern part of Africa, western part of Africa. So I think that's what Queen Arrow was trying to say. And we just wanted to know your thoughts on that.
First and foremost, if it's called an Africa Esports Federation,
Yep.
well, looking at the name alone, you want to conclude that it's for all of Africa, But if they are locking their membership to a particular region, then maybe they want to change the name to reflect their membership.
So
Okay,
North Africa Esports Federation.
probably, or they probably have plans to later on spread towards the rest of Africa. I can't speak for them. I don't know what their line of thought is. But for them to have the name Africa, maybe that's what they have coming up. But on a general basis, I don't think it's helpful for anybody to have a continental federation and then restrict it to a particular region. At least at the AESA, it is not what we believe in. Okay, we believe in having everybody come together to the table, have equal representation. There can be regional blocks. Well, I agree with Stephen. There can be regional blocks, yes. But using the name Africa, I don't know. So, but in time, I guess we'll get to see what the program is and who is involved or not in their program. But I can say that for the AESA, we are all inclusive. We have regions at the AESA also, where we have 5 vice presidents who manage their different regions. So we have our vice president for the Northern African region, we have the vice president for the Western African region, Central African, Eastern African, and Southern African. Okay. So if we talk about blocks also, we don't do blocks. Okay. We have these VPs and board members at the same time who manage the affairs of these regions. And of course, they would also have their own teams that they will be working together with, just to make sure that that region is also developing in terms of esports and gaming. So at least I may not be able to speak for the others, but I can speak for AES, which I have just done now. I hope that is satisfactory enough.
Yes, it is. That's a whole new topic on its own about that move. But
100%.
Umar, that's something we would have to schedule for another day to kind of discuss. We're really out of time, so let's just round up. Umar, the last question for Emmanuel.
So, what should we expect from the AESA? It's a new year, post-COVID. We thought 2021 would change things. It didn't really change much. So 2022, new hopes, new aspirations. What does AESA have for us? At least what you can share.
Okay. The AESA is not taking the back seats when it comes to esports. Personally, for me, 2022 is the year for esports. Okay. It was as if 2021 weren't doing anything. That's why the fact that we did quite a few things. But 2022 is coming with a bang. There's a lot that is going to be happening. There's an explosion. Okay. It looks like 2022 is when esports is actually starting officially, in this part of the world. For the AESA, we are working with 2 different tournament organizers. I can mention that, yes. 2 different tournament organizers, to bring about esports and gaming tournaments in Africa. Aside that, also, we're also working with the IESF, to bring esports activities to Africa. Aside the activities that are coming, we're also going to be receiving some equipment, to support different gaming communities in Africa. So that's a big one, coming from our partnership with the IESF. That's talking about the AESA now. Also, there's the big one in November, where we will be taking African gamers to the IESF World Championship to represent Africa, and bring laurels home for Africa. Last year was in Israel, Oyelakin in Israel, but this year it's going to be in Bali, Indonesia. Beautiful country. They say Bali is the island of the gods. Okay, so it's something to look forward to, and we already are looking forward to that event. Qualifiers will be run throughout Africa to select the representatives from different countries, that will be going for that event in Africa. So that's at the very minimum about 3 or 4 different events, for the entire African region. So everybody will get busy. Everybody will be busy doing one thing or the other, and we look forward to an exciting year.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So how can gamers, stakeholders connect with the African Esports Association? Because I'm sure that's the question everyone is asking. Okay, fine. A lot has been said. How can we connect to these activations?
Yeah. Okay. So at the AESA, one of the things that we like to do is to empower local organizations in different countries. We don't want to undermine the different national federations. Okay. So let's say in Kenya, for instance, we will work directly with the authorities, in that country to interface with the gamers. It's not like the gamers cannot interface directly also. I mean, it's an open organization, but because we don't want to undermine the authorities in those different countries, we want to work with them directly to reach out to gamers. But of course, we also have our own direct access to these gamers, and they also can access the AESA. We want to speak with sponsors, we want to speak with stakeholders, we want to grow the community, we want to register everyone, we want to be able to point to people. So, for instance, somebody does something that is very good and commendable, we want to be able to easily identify you and say XYZ has done well, and then this is the prize. Or somebody has just been a knucklehead and has gone to say something very ugly in an esports event, we want to also sanction, or at least put a deterrent in place so that that kind of activity or practice is not encouraged. So we are growing our database this year to have information for everyone, so that we can use this to be able to reach people. We want to send information out, we want to send emails, we want to send newsletters, we need to be able to get across to our gamers through this medium. So yeah, that's one of the ways that there can be connection between the AESA and the teaming gamers in Africa.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Emmanuel. That's all the time we've had, guys. Hope everyone was able to get their question answered. I know there was a comment here. Let me just read the last comment. This is from Kwesi. It says creating synergy in African esports, collaboration and diversity. That is a very good one. Closing remarks from Umar, sorry, not from Emmanuel.
Well, we've at least you've clarified a lot of things about the AESA, about its parts in the IESF, your plans for the future. Things do look bright, and it doesn't feel like it's just words, because we've actually seen a couple of things you've done, both within Nigeria and as part of other organizations outside Nigeria. So kudos, and looking forward to greater things in the near future.
Thank
you. Okay,
thanks.
Kwenaru, closing remarks.
So I just want to thank you for having this forum where we could actually openly ask you questions, and at least we can see what agendas that the AESA and the IESF have for Africa and the world at large in 2022. And I'm excited to see what is to come.
Okay, all right, guys. So that is it. You've heard from Emmanuel Oyelakin, the president of the African Esports Association. We'll be looking out for the course of the year, all the activations, and how gamers and other stakeholders can participate. From us at the AfroGamer Podcast, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Bye-bye.